Hey, I asked you to vote for which topics from previous 5 Stupid Things videos you'd like to see me take another crack at, and vote you did. Now for the third place finisher. Here are 5 more stupid things I've noticed about creationism. Creationists are doing science wrong. Question, hypothesis, experiment, conclusion. Those are the basic steps for doing science. It's pretty straightforward, yet somehow creationists still manage to fuck it up because they're creationists and fucking shit up is what they do. Creationists cheat by taking the conclusion and moving it from the end to the beginning, which makes no sense, by the way. A conclusion at the beginning, that's an introduction. Anyway, once they've got their conclusion, creationists set about looking for evidence to prove that conclusion, a process that is hopelessly tainted by their own confirmation bias and guaranteed to yield results absolutely worthless to anyone looking for anything other than cherry-picked, rationalized confirmation of that pre-existing conclusion. But the creationist mockery of science doesn't end with the inversion of its method. Creationists make modern science out to be a conspiracy theory. If you listen to creationists, you get the impression that nearly every scientist in the world is either actively promoting or silently enabling a global disinformation campaign designed to hide the truth, that evolution is a theory in crisis, that the Big Bang model has fundamental, irresolvable problems. These scientists know they're wrong. They know that creationism is true, or at least is a viable alternative to mainstream theories. They just won't admit it. They won't fess up to their mistakes because they know if they did, and they turned their energies toward proving creationism, and they found compelling evidence that overturned hundreds of years of accepted science, they would trigger a revolution of Copernican proportions and see their names writ large alongside those of the greatest men and women in all human history. And who wants that? Creationists mischaracterize evolution. Creationists are forever trying to make evolutionary biology into something it's not. They say things like, evolution teaches children that their lives are meaningless, or evolution means that there's no such thing as morality and that people are just complex chemical reactions, or evolution teaches us to kill the weak and revere the strong. Now, those first two things just aren't true, and in fact, evolution actually gives us a much better basis for explaining and understanding morality than any god I've ever heard of. And as for that third one, yes, it's true that natural selection is a cruel and indifferent process, but science is concerned with what is, not with what ought to be. And one of the products of that cruel, indifferent process is us, with our capacity for cruelty and indifference, yes, but also our capacity for charity and mercy, and our need for community, and our empathy and sense of moral judgment that compels us to treat other people with kindness and respect. Even creationists, most of the time. Theistic creationists switch to deism when convenient. Most creationists here in the United States are evangelical Christians, and the creation story they endorse is the one found in the Bible. But when creationists like William Lane Craig make the cosmological argument, they're not talking about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. More like the deist God of Voltaire, Rousseau, and Paine. But if you happen to find the cosmological argument persuasive, the creationist will often then say, aha, see, you accept the existence of God, now here, take this Bible and read more about him. And if you can't be troubled to think about things for longer than 3 fucking seconds, maybe that'll work for you. If, on the other hand, you actually give a shit about whether or not what you believe is true, you might realize that even if you do accept the existence of a deist God, it's a hell of a walk from that to this bullshit. The creationist movement is fundamentally dishonest. You ever notice how often groups dedicated to doing the Lord's work turn out to be full of liars and con artists? What an odd coincidence. Despite shunning its methods and rejecting some of its most well-established conclusions, most prominent creationists don't describe themselves as anti-science. Quite the contrary, they love science because it shows us the beautiful world that God has made. But if they really loved science so much, they would use it. And if they really understood it, they would realize that science doesn't show us a world made by God. It shows us an awesome universe that gets along just fine without him. The hardest part is only picking 5. Catch you next time.